What a week this has been. My name is Edie Lush. I'm the executive editor of Hub Culture, and has been such a pleasure to be here in Davos with the morning and evening news shows. If I think about some of the themes this week, three come to mind: leadership, technology, sustainability. Give you just a quote from three people that I interviewed. Adrian C. Smith on leadership, inclusive leadership. Inclusion is not just a checkbox. It's the foundation of creativity, resilience, and meaningful change. I thought about that a lot as I read article after article around Trump's decision to get rid of all DEI employees from the federal government. A lot of discussions around AI governance as well. Azim Azar told me something. We're only 2 years away from AI systems capable of Nobel Prize quality work in specific domains. It will fundamentally change the way we think about expertise. And of course, climate action. Gail Whiteman here in the studio delivering a stark reminder: extreme weather is no longer unusual. It is the new normal. Without urgent action, we risk crossing irreversible tipping points. Leadership, of course, coming from all corners of the globe. Rosaline Chambrier praising Africa's leadership. She said, Kenya's remarkable energy success proves that sustainable development is achievable at scale. So, coming up tonight to close out this incredible week, thrilled to bring you a couple more guests. We have coming up Olivier Oullier, a neuroscientist and behavioral health expert coming. We've got a DJ for you, Greg Lyon, Maria Ivanova, who's an environmental governance leader, Naoko Ishii, executive vice president of the University of Tokyo, and we might even hear about the adaptogen drinks here in Hub Culture. You'll find out what those are. Stay with us. I am here now with Naoko Ishii. She is the director of the Center for Global Commons at the University of Tokyo. Welcome.
Thank you so much. We are very happy to be here.
Delighted to have you. And I love that your title and the name of your center, the Global Commons, is something that I don't think we think enough about. And as we speak science to power, tell me why it's so important to think about the global commons.
Yeah. To me, the global commons means it's a stable, resilient planetary system or Earth system, which all of our lives, human, but also the entire lives depend on. And it's a very kind of united system. It's not only climate, but also the entire nature, the water, soil, ocean, and we all depend on that. But science, planetary science, tell us that we were actually really eating or damaging this on the foundation of our lives. It's our life support system. So that one takeaway from this week is that the message from the science getting clearer and clearer and clearer. They identified 9 planetary boundaries. We have already exceeded 6 out of 9. This are safe boundaries. So
and it's frightening. And they are not only exceeded, but they are in the danger zone, the red zone, from which there's no return.
Yeah, that's a kind of tipping points, and we are entering into this the tipping points. And as you said, all of them are going in the wrong direction. So there is a kind of arrow to show that which direction it's going to. The scary thing is that the things are going into the wrong direction, but science also tells us there is still a hope. We are not all done yet. That there are, with our effort, we should be able to come back to this safe operating zone. So that's where I think we need to really collectively identify the way to how to get back to this safe planetary system.
Do you think we have the pathways necessary to go back to this safe system?
Being economist and also helped by scientists, yes, there is a pathway. The challenge is we are not able to get ourselves onto that pathway for various reasons. It's a vested interest because we are all part of this current existing system. It's very difficult for each one of us to get out of that current pathway, existing system, because we really have to come together collectively how we can move together. So that is a policy challenge, political challenge, also individual challenge, how courageous we could be.
So I wonder if we think about, as an economist, one of the phrases I love is internalizing the externalities, right? And would you say that that's getting nature on the balance sheet?
That is exactly my passion and the mission that all of my energy and my partners, allies' energy is going to. Because fundamental problem, why we are not able to, even if we see that pathway, why we are not able to get on that pathway is there are some important elements are not really priced yet. This is a nature, natural capital. We take it as a free goods. So that's why that our consumption production system basically eating up this nature or natural capital. And if we are able to find an adequately price for or account for the true value of natural capital, then we should be able to get onto this more sustainable trajectory. That is something I think that some of us are working on that, but it's basically challenging the existing economic system. It has to change the accounting system, the regulatory system, rating system, and the MR measurement reporting system. So it's entirely market structure have to shift towards that pathway to put the adequate value on the natural capital so that we don't have to be worried about that, our consumption, the production, just eating up at the nature.
So it is system change. You just listed a whole lot of things that do need to change. Give me an example of how things would look differently.
Okay, for instance, right now, forest company, for instance, have a natural forest and the production forest. Production forest is actually that going to the timber market, so it's very easy to put the price on this the timber forest. But timber forest is surrounded by natural forest, which do a great thing to this timber to make the timber productive, not only for that to provide to consume that GHG, but also to provide the water, the soil health, and also provide that biodiversity. So it's a very important part of this ecosystem. But as of today, none of us is paying the price for those companies or even indigenous people to protect this natural forest, so that once we are able to find a price for those natural assets, we should be able to reward those companies who take care of natural forest, and we should be able to put the monetary value to reward the value to indigenous community, forest community, smallholder farmers who have been taking care of those natural assets. And so far, their effort have not been recognized by the market. They are doing for us for free. So once we are able to internalize the externalities, put a price on this natural capital, we basically reward those guardians on the ground, be it it's a company, indigenous community, forest community, that the farmers. So that is a major shift.
In that example, who are the vested interests which would push against that?
If the food company, big food company, don't really pay an adequate price to the people on the ground, either for smallholder farmers or that the community taking care of that land, and then basically under the new system, these people have to pay the price, the reward to those guardians on the ground. So in a sense, these are the ones that who are kind of maybe not willing, but once that the new system is realized, now consumers be a part of this big game. Right. So I think that the system will actually be enacted in a much more smooth the way, and it really do a good thing for nature, but also the people, guardians on the natural capital of the ground.
And for the global commons.
Yep. Exactly, and because that that example of natural forest is good for that to consume that greenhouse gas, but also take care of biodiversity, the water, the soil, so that so it's all important element of the global commons. Right now, there is no economic mechanism to take care of that, so we want to create that.
Thank you so much, Naoko, for stopping by the Hub Culture Evening Show. Lovely to see you. Thank you for coming and telling us about your work. I'm Edie Lush. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Edie Lush, Executive Editor at Hub Culture, here with neuroscientist, entrepreneur, and friend, Olivier. Oullier, how are you?
Hi, Edie. Great to be back for the 10th, 11th time.
We've stopped counting. We've stopped counting. Tell me a little bit about your week here in Davos. You've had an extraordinary week. You've done a lot around artificial intelligence. What did you learn? What surprised you?
For me, there was a lot of discussions about trust. And one of the big surprises that we got from the summit we organized on the first day of Davos, called the Centaurs of Artificial Intelligence, is the role of chief marketing officers in AI today, because AI is as much a tech issue as it is a reputational issue now.
Interesting. Give me an example.
A lot of people who are now claiming that they are putting artificial intelligence in their products, in their services, have to face some defiance from the clients, from the investors. Hence, there is a huge part that needs to be handled in terms of rep, in terms of communications.
Okay, so one product that is going to change because of AI and what that means.
I still think that the biggest benefits are going to be for health and healthcare. Being able to better understand cancer, some forms of cancer, to accelerate treatments and the way what is called precision medicine. The fact that you're moving from off-the-shelf medicine to something that is almost like haute couture, just tailored to you, is something that AI is accelerating. And
how do you keep it affordable, though? That's the big question, right?
This is a totally different issue in a sense when the pricing can change from one country to another. But I think that the affordability will also come with the fact that AI helps reduce the costs, because all along the supply and distribution chain, as well as the R&D part, you've got a lot of gain in terms of time, in terms of trial and error. Hence, hopefully, this will lead to lowering the cost and improving access to healthcare.
What about the issue around AI and climate? AI could help us figure out clearer, faster pathways to reach zero emissions. However, AI is an energy suck, and we don't actually have enough renewable energy at the moment to power the data centers that eat AI.
Yeah,
or
we
produce
don't have
AI.
enough energy, period,
Right.
in order to really cope with this acceleration of demands with AI. And I think this is very meta in a sense, because on one hand, you've got these amazing tools that promise to be able to improve the way we deal with energy and reduce carbon emissions. But this tool, in order to be able to use it, consumes so much. It also starts with you and I and the way we use artificial intelligence and generative artificial intelligence. A lot of people are using it as a search engine.
Yeah.
But using a ChatGPT, for example, a Claude or Le Chat for search is a bit like having your pizza delivered by 3 trucks instead of a scooter.
So how do you use it?
We use it with inclusive brains in order to better understand how the brain works and to improve the interactions between people and machines. I also use it as part of my new hat as the chair of the Institute for Artificial Intelligence at Biotech Dental, in order to make sure that we design solutions in healthcare, in dental healthcare, that are totally tailored to people. What is amazing is that now you can see, after a few pictures taken from a phone, what your face and your teeth will look like post-treatment, post-implant or alignment. And this is something that is not only game-changing for people, but also for the business itself.
Give me a sense of what's coming up for you at Inclusive Brains as well.
We signed a partnership with Allianz Trade last year that allows us to help people with disabilities mind control an exoskeleton arm.
Amazing.
Which was also used as part of the Olympic torch relay for 2 people with disabilities. And we also wrote a tweet without our hands, without talking, without touching, to President Macron, who replied.
Nice.
It was the
what
first,
did it say?
Oh, we were just bragging about ourselves. And the world premiere that we achieved the month before. But we did it in a non-invasive way. Elon Musk and his company Neuralink did it 3 months before, but it needed implants. The way we did it is non-invasive, meaning that you don't drill a hole in people's skull. It's just with external sensors.
So I don't need the chip in my brain.
Well, you might one day, who knows? But at least not to do that. The next step for us is really to make sure that we scale this technology. We started with a technology that has a mission to help people with disability have access to education, being able to work again. But we were very much inspired by the remote control, which was first developed for people with disabilities and then conquered the world and helped billions of people in the way they interact with technology.
I love it. Okay, final thought. What's your prediction for this year?
Well, my prediction is there will be more and more people making predictions about how they use artificial intelligence, and that is my tip to, for everyone who's wondering whether they're talking to someone who actually knows artificial intelligence or someone who is a self-proclaimed artificial intelligence expert today, but was an expert in crypto 2 years ago, an expert on the metaverse 2 years before. Anyone who gives you a very accurate prediction as to what the outcomes of artificial intelligence are going to be like in 2026 is likely to be someone who never developed an artificial intelligence system. So zero prediction as usual.
Okay, never change. Never
Well,
change,
you
please.
need invariance in life.
All right, thank you so much, Olivier, for coming by the Hub Culture News Show, our final edition. Stay with us, we've got a few more guests for you. I am delighted to be back now with a special look into the music of Davos. We've been so lucky to have Greg Lyon here last night with us. He is an artist, a musician, and a DJ, and you were playing some pretty cool tracks here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, Edie.
It was fun. So give me a sense of what's going on for you. You've got some exciting news. You've just signed with TRAX Records.
Yeah, I signed this year on the iconic label of Chicago house music. And
Show us the, let's show the, look at that.
TRAX Records, the real home of house music. It's a really iconic label. And it's a good years for me because I have the first single.
Okay.
It come out this month. In March.
Tell me about it. Tell me about the first single.
The first single, it's a various artists with a lot of big legends like Screaming Rachel, Josmos, and so Spada, my criminal partner, favorite criminal partner,
we
this
know
guy.
Jacques Lavoisier.
Jacques Lavoisier,
Yeah.
and Kushga and Tadix. And we have 2 tracks in these various artists, I'll Take You There, and The Ultimate House Party. It's a original mix, but a remix of Raiding, track of Screaming Rachel.
Okay, so you've already played in some big places. You've played in Amsterdam. Where else?
And Vondelpark in Amsterdam, and for the Edie festival in Amsterdam. Also, I play in Spain, a lot of gigs in Spain, in Alicante, Cartagena, and also I'm French. I'm a French musician. I play in French in Paris and Marseille, my city.
Okay, but you're not just a DJ. I mean, just is the wrong word. You're not only a DJ. You are also a classical pianist, a teacher, a composer.
Yeah.
How do you put all that together?
I have a lot of career in the music because the music it's a big city and it's a universe, and I love teaching, and I'm classical pianist, also conductor. Since my 6th, when I was a student.
Wow.
I was student in Conservatory of Marseille and also an École Normale Supérieure de Musique de Paris. And now I'm pianist concertist, orchestral conductor, composer. A lot of composition for the dance, for the ballet, the National Ballet of Marseille, and a lot of projects in the dance. And also I'm a teacher now because I'm more old, and
Experienced. More experienced, exactly.
And I'm teacher in music school of Le Thor in Vaucluse, and teacher of piano, also of choral.
All right, beautiful. And part of the proceeds of the record go to DJs for Good, is that right? Tell me about that.
All the proceeds charity is part of DJ for Good movement, and for our make vinyl is perfect, but make a vinyl with science, we help people for helping people. It's really important for us. It's for that all the process go to
all the proceeds.
As a process go to the charity. It's a part of charity. Go to DJ for Good.
Amazing. What was your favorite part of Davos this week?
Oh, my favorite party, the up culture.
Well, there you go. Favorite part was playing in the Icon, our circular building. In fact, in the final moments, we were
amazing moment.
We were all up at the top in a giant circle, while you were down below with Jacques Lavoisier.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah, it's an amazing moment with a lot of good people, and we have played the music we loved. It's more rare for play music for the people, but we played house music is perfect.
Beautiful.
And yesterday is a perfect day.
Thank you so much, Greg, for stopping by
Thank you,
the
Kim.
Hub Culture News Evening Show here in Davos. We've got a couple more guests for you. Stay with us. And we are back. We are having a look at environmental governance, which may be getting the short end of the stick, but we've got an expert here to take us with some of the issues, and she is an optimist at heart. Delighted to have Maria Ivanova here with us. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I'm inspired.
Okay, well, we met at the top of the mountain, top of Schatzau, both watching Yo-Yo Ma play his cello, turned with his back to us, but playing to the glacier. And it was incredibly moving. Yes. And by the end, when he was playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I was in tears. Tell me how you are leaving Davos. You say you have a sense of optimism. Why is that?
It is because of that highlight yesterday, Edie. And we connected, right? You and I connected. You and other people, I and other people connected, but we also connected with the mountain, with nature, and with each other. And that was the highlight of Davos for me. It was the only time that it snowed during this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
It did not snow in Davos, either before or after. It was just that moment. And as much as we think that, or we know that all individuals are like snowflakes, we're all different. We will melt if we are one by one. We will only thrive, we will only survive if there is a collective. And to me, that's what rang through yesterday. The beauty of the individual and the power and grounding of the collective.
So you do a lot of work on plastics, and if we talk about the importance of the individual and the collective, I can think of that's a really good example of one thing that needs both us as human beings as well as all of us together to work on it. So what's the project that you're working on?
I had the incredible honor to serve on the national delegation of Rwanda during the process when Rwanda and Peru put forward the resolution in the UN Environment Assembly to start a global process for a global treaty to end plastic pollution. If you think about it, it's pretty incredible. I'm not Rwandan, I am an academic. And to have the honor to serve on the delegation actually shows the vision of the government that let's bring in the people who can help us advance this agenda. And so since then, I've been engaging in the negotiations, but I have now also managed to accredit, we have worked to accredit Northeastern as an institution, and we now bring a delegation from Northeastern. And so speaking about the collective and the individual, what I do on plastics is the collective is the countries. We are negotiating an agreement. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to end it in Busan, in South Korea. The process continues. The consumer is the individual unit of analysis here, and we see it as consumers, it's not enough. And so my theory of change here is to lead from the middle out. We need cities, companies, and I would challenge campuses, because that is where a lot of the work happens,
whether it's procurement,
but we are big consumers. Universities are consumers. We order everything. And if you notice in Davos, there was no plastic. There was no single-use plastic. Everything was glass, even with wood floors, hardwood floors. And this impressed me.
Interesting. So what's the biggest barrier to your work in plastics?
Well, there are a few. Part of it is that we think it's too insignificant. And on the other hand, we think it's too big for me to address. And so I think today we're going to talk about dilemmas with you from on both sides, individual, collective, too insignificant, too big. This is where the plastic negotiations almost break down, is what is it for my country? And a big obstacle are the oil producing countries, because plastic is 98% fossil fuel.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when we have curtailed our use of fossil fuels because of the climate agenda, plastic comes in.
Right.
And so that the national interest, short-term interest, without seeing the bigger long-term vision is a serious problem. And then at the individual level is we think, oh, I'm too insignificant. Let me just get this other takeout container.
Yeah. So what is your hope for 2025 in terms of an agreement on plastics or beyond?
My hope is that INC, that is Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee 5.2, which governments agreed to, will take place by mid-year, and that governments will agree. And there are models of agreements that have worked. There are models where we could phase out the ambition, and there are models where the international institutions invest and help countries get to where they need to be. So my hope is that countries and their citizens see that they need to do the right thing.
All right, Maria, thank you very much for stopping by the Hub Culture Evening News Show on the final day in Davos. Stay with us. We've got a couple more guests for you. We'll be right back. And I'm back. I am Edie Lush, Executive Editor of Hub Culture. Delighted to be here with another person I met at the top of the mountain, Anna Gristing-Scholder. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure to have you. So we met listening to Yo-Yo Ma, which was a transformative experience. I hadn't given a lot of thought to music and climate, but you think about this very deeply. Before we get into that subject, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm an architect and urbanist. I call myself now a regenerative urbanist, but I'm also a musician, and I always thought I should choose between architecture and music. But the more I went forward, I continued both, and now I'm really trying to link architecture and music, and also music as a sort of transformative art, you know, how we can also use music to transform our relationship to nature.
We've actually just had a DJ in here, and it's extraordinary when you think about the power of music to change people's feelings, to change how they think.
Yes.
It's rather extraordinary. How can it change how we think about the climate?
Well, I think for me, I use the word biophilia because I was very lucky to meet once E.O. Wilson. He was a professor at Harvard, and biophilia is really our deep connection to nature. And I realized I had this in my upbringing because of my parents, and I come from a mountain village, and I thought, you know, how can music also connect us to nature? So when I was studying music, I had a classical training, but I also did a workshop with Mary Boyne. She's a Sami singer, and she taught me a song for Mother Earth. So I became very interested also in, you know, these traditional music and these indigenous cultures who are all very connected to nature. Their music is connected to nature, their connection also to animals. So for me, that was also important, you know, the type of music. And it's interesting because the Sami way they sing, they call it the yoke, is also quite similar to the yodel that we have in Switzerland. So we also have these sort of similarities in the way we use our voices. And the yodel is a very ancient technique of singing, which was also, you know, we also had our indigenous cultures in a way. So it's also our indigenous way of singing, which is also connected to nature.
All right. What project are you working on at the moment?
At the moment, in architecture and urbanism, I'm working on blue futures. So the blue is really looking at water, because water is really fundamental in everything we do and the way we urbanize. And because we've disregarded water in planning, we have a lot of flooding. And we see, and I was actually speaking to somebody today in Davos, I was really glad to learn this morning, that we talk a lot about carbon all the time. And this person especially was saying we have to also look at the water cycles, that they're also really important in this whole issue of climate change. I began this when I was in Qatar. It's a desert, and people asked me to talk about green urbanism, and I thought I need to talk about the water, because without the water we don't have any green. So I started looking at the blue infrastructure, but then it's also, blue is also the relationship to the ocean, you know, and now we realize, because 80% of the, you know, it's a blue planet. And we realize that the ocean is very important as well, and all the species, whether it's carbon capture, etc. So it's also this relationship to the ocean. And the blue is also, this was coined by Saatchi and Saatchi in 2007, 2008, so I didn't invent it. From green to blue, it's also this idea that we can't be passive, that we have to give back more to the planet and nature. So the blue is sort of going beyond the green. So I've just done a music project in Oman. We created a cultural bridge with the Swiss, we worked with the Swiss Embassy. And we also worked with some musicians in Oman. We did a performance at the Royal Opera House. So the theme there was blue. So the idea was we composed some music around water. And also the Omani musicians composed some music around water. I also composed something with the Alphorn, where we talked about the endangered species, the apex species. For example, in Switzerland we have the wolves, and it's a big issue about, you know, should we let these wolves be reintroduced? But we know that they regenerate nature if we do allow them to have their ecosystems. And in Oman they have Arabian leopards. So I also, you know, the idea is to bring these questions into the music, and then, you know, in the performances is to communicate these ideas through the music and the compositions.
Extraordinary. Gosh, I'd love to hear some of the music. So, well, we'll have to get you back to play some of the music in here. Quite a lot of connection in this building, the hub culture icon to regenerative to connection with indigenous communities and music as well. So thank you so much, Anna, for stopping by the Hub Culture icon for our final evening show here in Davos. I'm Edie Lush. We'll be back with our final guest in just a moment. Okay, this is it. Our final guest for the Hub Culture Davos evening show. How are you, Stan?
It's good to be back.
Good to be back. Well, what a week.
It has been a whirlwind of a week.
I can't believe how many people have come through this studio, how many people have come through the icon in general. What are your biggest takeaways?
Well, we've just had so many amazing conversations. When you get to spend an entire week with dozens of neuroscientists talking about brain health, or
You really start to think about your own brain, right?
I've been thinking a lot about my lack of brain, but also just, they talk about Davos brain, but really actually just the importance of brain health and how so many factors actually play an impact on your whole life. So that's been very, very interesting for me. We learned so much from the Brain House and our friends at the Davos Alzheimer's Collective with some amazing events and activities. Also, Hedera hosted some really incredible conversations around the connection between blockchain and AI. David Schreier from Imperial hosted a lunch where the main question was, what would you say to a country if they wanted to be sovereign in the age of AI?
Data sovereignty, super important question. Had David and Aldo in here talking about that. That felt very important.
Yeah.
The ways to look after your own data, not giving up your data to the Magnificent Seven or the Scary Seven or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we had a moment with the inauguration, so we watched the inauguration, and then quite honestly, the most amazing thing was this morning we hosted a full day on oceans. We started off with a workshop on regenerating Los Angeles after the fires, but this oceans workshop was pretty amazing. The Existence Fund brought in Edward Russo, who is Trump's climate special advisor, so he's literally the voice for the new administration on climate. And it was the first time we got to hear from the administration what the Trump policy is going to be. And so that was very interesting.
And what is it going to be?
Well, they did say that we need to get off fossil fuels,
It's incredible.
which is quite
Very
an
different.
impressive, message to acknowledge that. They also acknowledged climate change in the discussion. That's huge. And they also talked about basically regeneration. So I think that there's potentially a massive shift that's about to happen within the description of how the Republicans approach climate. I think they're going to move it away from carbon and like net zero and into what we call nature positive.
Yeah.
This idea that we need to regenerate nature, we need healthy soils, we need healthy seas, we need clean drinking water. Those are the three things that they said. It's a step forward and a big step forward if we can actually have remediation at the core of a situation. There's this whole conversation that happened about Trump wanting to be the next Teddy Roosevelt,
Right.
where the teddy bear came from.
Right.
And, Teddy Roosevelt was known for creating the national park system and growing that. And so while Trump is saying drill, baby, drill, there's maybe another angle to this, which could be about a legacy of environmental protection and regeneration using remediation and other technologies.
It's interesting
We'll see
you
what
mentioned.
happens.
Interesting you mentioned Teddy Roosevelt. I had one guest in here this week who had taken an idea from Teddy Roosevelt's time that actually never quite got implemented, but it was the idea of having a fund to get people to invest in other people. So it was a very early kind of crowd funding way, and she is taking that fund as a way to spur investment into the creative industries. So it's called Pop Ventures. It's an interesting. It's just
You
interesting.
had
that
so
mentioned
many
that.
people through. What did you learn?
Oh my days! I learned that in 2 years we're going to have Nobel Prize level AI. About pretty much artificial general intelligence within 2 years. So we heard that not only from Anthropic within the Congress Center across the hall, but here from Azim Azar in this place. I heard some incredible work around climate change from Marisa Drew from Standard Chartered.
Standard Chartered, she's amazing.
Incredible work around debt for nature swaps, allowing island nations to restructure debt in exchange for investments, for example, in mangrove restoration. So the work is being done. I think the sense of optimism that I always get here is it comes from hearing people who are actually doing work, right?
I had a conversation on Monday in our quantum session because we had 3 themes within the hub: quantum, regenerative, and health. And on the quantum discussion, Luca Ferrara from Sandbox AQ was talking about this thing called geomagnetic resonance. So they basically used AI and quantum computing to figure out that GPS, and GPS is actually having a big problem right now because it's getting hacked.
Right.
And there's like active attempts to essentially break GPS. But there's a new thing called like magnetic resonance that AI allows us to compute very, very precisely that there are different magnetic signatures all over the Earth which can be used for geolocation. So think of it like a super compass, where actually imagine a digital identity for every spot on Earth based on its magnetic signature.
Wow.
And then using AI to be able to deliver a kind of unique hash identity for all these things to essentially replace GPS.
Goodness. I mean, I had a ton of, you mentioned the Brain House, and I was so intrigued to talk to George Vredenberg.
It was amazing.
Among others, but within 5 years, we could have real, serious ways to completely almost get rid of Alzheimer's. Preventative is obviously incredibly important. 80% of the Alzheimer's cases will be in the global south by 2050. So the big challenge is, of course, to make these really affordable. But it sounds like we can do something like detection methods like cheek swabs. Blood tests can identify Alzheimer's super early, right?
I sat at lunch with somebody at the US Steel lunch where they have a new technology that records your voice, and based on your voice, they can diagnose whether or not you have depression and other diseases.
Yeah.
Just from the voice signature, again, run through AI. I think that...
Do you think that they could use that to detect how little sleep we've had
I
this
think
week?
so, yeah. But, I think that the overall thing to me is that, and this has not been, I think, explored enough, but the power that Trump has with the Magnificent Seven, or whatever we call them, from the inauguration, the 7 tech bros, that is going to converge with the cementing of AI. I don't think we have even begun to understand how momentous that's going to be, because this is a form factor that's 1,000 times bigger than social media.
Yeah.
And it's going to all cement over the next 4 years. So I think the need for us to really pay attention to complexity is the word of the day. For me, I talked to a woman from Accenture, and we were talking about this idea of complexity. I see 2025 as navigating complexity. We all need to pay attention, we need to be diligent, and we need to be serious about how we're going to manage this. But I do think it's manageable.
Okay. Final thought from me, which is that I came in thinking quite deeply about artificial intelligence and energy use, and so I was delighted to have a bunch of people in here. David Schreier told me, we could measure AI sustainability by metrics like answers per ton of CO2. And I quite liked that. And I thought that the study that they did, which was looking at the countries which have the most sustainable energy and also have the ability to host some of these data centers. And some interesting places like Brazil come up really high on there, as well as some maybe less surprising places like Norway, Sweden. And if we're able to put some of the data centers in countries where the energy is in fact quite cheap and very renewable, we can start to figure out how to manage this massive issue, which is the fact that artificial intelligence just is an energy hoover.
Well, that actually brings it back to the icon, because one of the conversations we had this week was about the different form factors of the icon and the different uses of it. And it's really amazing walking into this building and watching people imagine the different use cases for it. So, one person's like, I work in elder care, and this could be used for elder care. Another person's like, low-income housing and student housing. But one of the most interesting ones that somebody said to me was edge data centers. So imagine a pod as an edge data center so that you can distribute computing power with the solar panels on the outside of the building. Final thought, prorata.ai, doing amazing work. There's a new product called Gist.ai. This is Bill Gross and Jonas Lee's new company. This company is amazing. They're taking the model that you saw in music, where you pay the creator, which is really what enabled YouTube to go from a $500 billion or up to a $500 billion company, is because they're paying the creators. And they're developing a way for AI to pay the creators for the content that the AI is scraping.
Interesting.
And then to be able to have the direct links behind it, it looks like it could be giving Google a run for its money in terms of search.
I love it. Okay, Stan, thank you for having me back. Thank you for this amazing studio. Thanks for such a great week.
Thank you for being the voice of hub culture. We love you so much.
All right, we love you too. That's it. That's it from me. I'm delighted to sign off for our final episode here of the Hub Culture Evening Show from Davos. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.